welcome everyone to our internal webinar about this time wireless charging version 1.6. The difference this time will be that we are actually going to divide the webinar into two parts. So in the first part, we are going to take a look at the wireless charging release and what was included in the release we made last week. And we're going to have a short discussion about that if any questions arise. And then on the second part, we will be taking a look at the new results for wireless charging, which are still in development, functionally ready, but we just wanted to get some additional feedback about the overall UI UX and maybe some ideas on how we could expand it or improve it. So yeah, let's then start with the presentation. Let me share my screen. Okay, cool. So with the version 1.6, we have included a couple of a couple new features and things, both visually from the UI side, but also from the functional side. So to demonstrate, we are going to set up a very simple FromCAD case and stop at the respective points. So I will start by selecting the case that we want to simulate. Okay, now here we have the automations in place. Let's generate the airbox. And now the first thing that you are going to notice is we have new filter in place before geometry roles, which is called application filter. So basically now users can choose the type of application they want to use wireless charging for. So that could be consumer electronics, electric vehicle charging, or maybe thin printed coils. And by doing this, Xenos will customize actually even more the roles offered to the users. Now, the geometry selection for roles, role selection remains the same. So we simply click on the given list and assign the specific objects to specific roles. But now also the role selection interface is slightly changed, and we can see that we have already some suggestions from Xenos what else we could include. So we don't need to no longer find from a list. What we can simply do is add, for example, a ferrite block and simply add it to the role list. Now, the second thing is we have changed slightly the navigation. So now you see that actually all four stages of simulation setup, so geometry, physics, meshing, and results, is visible on the top. And you can actually navigate either by clicking on the physics button or simply by clicking on the sections directly here. Additionally, here to get back to the desk, you can click on the desk icon, and while still being, for example, in the physics section, you can also simply save the case, so you don't need to no longer go back into the desk view. Now, we are going to very quickly set up this simulation control. So let's put, let's say, 20 seconds with 1 second time step. Additionally, what we have included in the new release is a reworked advanced computation settings part. So now under here, what you can find is control over what kind of solver you can use. So now you can switch between iterative and direct, and also you can switch between different mesh element orders. So basically from 1 to 4, 2 being default ones. So essentially default settings will be the same as they were up until this choice was implemented. But now, if you see that your computer may be struggling from hardware perspective, or there are some problems with convergence or calculation time, then you can switch between different solvers and maybe try reducing mesh element order to get around that. Now, let's quickly set up everything else so that we can move forward. I'm going to assign material for the ferrite, fill up transmitter coil. Okay. Apply some arbitrary current and also go into the receiver coil. Same thing. All right. Like this. Yeah. Now, the next improvement is actually in the meshing section. So you remember that in the previous release, we actually enabled users to cut the mesh in half. And now that functionality is embedded in the mesh cutting window itself. So what we can do now is we can generate the mesh and we can clip it without going outside this meshing interface. So if I want to take a look inside the mesh, I simply enable mesh cutting, and it very nicely shows me the mesh interface, which is now embedded into Xanus. And last but not least, when I click run, and let me first save the case. Now, when I run the case, if I at some point have forgotten what kind of input parameters I actually put in my setup, then even during the calculation, I can simply go back and take a look, for example, at the physical settings that I have created. I cannot really change them, but I can take a look at what has been defined to make sure that nothing was incorrectly inputted. And for example, if the calculation takes a bit longer and I just want to double check that everything is correct, I can actually do that. I can do the same also for the geometry section and also for the mesh.